Hello, OJ here. So they have just dropped a balance patch on Random Dice Go, and I'm here to talk about the changes that they've made. Now, one weird thing is they didn't actually come out with a proper patch. They just said, okay, we have a maintenance going on, and yeah, we might as well, while we have a maintenance, go patch the game and just change some values of all the dice. And okay, you do you, but officially or unofficially, they changed a lot of dice, and they didn't say, okay, this is gonna be patch 1.0.3 or something. So to me, this is a big patch because every time you change, dice and you take action to change the meta, it's a balance patch. But nevertheless, let's go into the changes. So we have the buff dice, we have Black Tortoise, Azure Dragon, Rebellion Bird, Soul dice, and Solar dice. Now, very important, I think none of these are used currently, and now I want to see the meta change a little bit. I want to see more variety in the game, especially right now the game is just League focused, so nobody really plays Battle, and we see a lot of League activity. So I think it's very nice to change these, especially because most of these will be League focused. You just have a lot more board building opportunities in League, whereas in Battle, you only get 3 dice around. So in Battle, it's more of a your opponent places dice and you place them just to counter that. And in League, it's more like, okay, how do I adapt to a new situation to kind of still be good on the board, but also be good against my current opponent so that I win the round, but don't screw myself over for future rounds and create more value for future rounds. So to me, there's more strategic depth to League balancing, and that's why I think the game is focused more around Leagues as well. Now, anyway, let's get into this. So we have a basic attack buff, a barrier buff, so the skill buff, and a skill trigger down for the Black Tortoise dice, and I think this is pretty good. I think it's still useless. I mean, at what point? We'll go over my interpretation at the end. So let's just quickly go over all these dice. So we have Azure Dragon now needs less dice killed to activate the skill condition. Vermilion Bird's secondary form, so once it dies and it becomes an egg, that egg is now tankier and it buffs more dice. I mean, it buffs the dice more. Soul dice, more stats, basically, just more stats from other dice dying on the board, and another basic attack speed buff. Splash damage now, so the 5 pips, not 5 pips, sorry. When you have 5 solars on the board, it now does another 10% splash damage. Yeah, it's a minor buff, really. Nerfed. Now the Melec dice, now this got a big nerf, so I think this is almost half. This is like a big nerf. I don't know, like this dice gets its value, of course, from being able to clear clusters like this. So when you attack a shield, you can kill this whole cluster at the same time and have to go through each one itself, which is pretty big. That means that you don't have to play around the invincible dice. You can just play some electric dice and it'll do the job for you. Now it's a lot harder because now it doesn't do that much damage to one dice. So even if your opponent only had 1 shield, this would take a lot longer to kill that. Basic health of the invincible dice nerfed. This is very welcoming. I see this dice just being used. You cannot play a game or a deck right now almost without these dice, and especially without invincible and shield combo. But we didn't see any more shield nerfs. I think that's great because shield's in a fine spot. It's more the other dice that are the problem. Now, changed. Now this is an interesting change. So basically they changed the support dice from, well, first of all, they gave them all less health. So you can see this, and this. They all got less health. That means they want you to focus more on placing these in a proper spot rather than just spamming them on the board. They also want you to increase the pip count to make them tankier. How do they express their pip count favorability? So they nerfed the attack speed at 1 pip, so the basic attack speed bonus, from these two dice, and they changed them to where they, if you pip them up, so by merging means by, you know, increasing the pip count, they increased the percentage that you get per pip on the dice. So instead of just spamming, like I said in my last video that I uploaded last night, don't ever pip these up, I said. Don't ever pip these up, because you get so much from level 1, and now they said, well, screw you. We're gonna decrease that level 1 gain, or that 1 pip gain, and we're gonna increase it for more pips. So, do you still want to pip them up? I don't know. It's like 20% for a 1 pip, so that means 2 1 pips are like 40%, and then 1 2 pip is 25%, right? So it's like, yeah, I might now pip them up more than last time, but I still would rather not pip them up, because I'd still rather put pips into my carry dice, you know, like a sniper or a good evil. Anyway, now, do I think that these changes are good? Yeah. Do I think they're gonna change much of the meta? Maybe. I think Azure Dragon is probably the most notable change here. I think this dice is still very, very... How would you use this dice? Okay, so to me, this dice, you can't use it as like a taunt, right? You can't use this dice as, okay, so I have many dice on the board, and I want my opponent to just attack this dice. That means the other dice won't get attacked because this taunts for a long time. No, I think this dice is actually a sleeper carry dice. And what I mean by that is, if you put this dice in a corner where it can only get attacked by 1 dice, okay? So let's say you have the... I don't know, let's say you have it somewhere in these 2 corners or something. I would always put this guy in a corner and never in the middle of the map. Because this dice can hit the entire map, right? Once the skill triggers. Now, you could buff this dice. You could apply like an invincible and a light dice to this dice. But at the end of the day, this dice is to me a carry dice, not a tank dice. So if you put this dice in like a corner, and then somebody attacks it, then you get the most value out of it. But just using this is so hard that I don't know how we're gonna see this dice being used properly yet. But anyway, they really want you to play around their 4 guardian dice, by the way. So these so now this buff is huge. I think getting this down to 10 is much easier now. It can be done like in round 2 in leagues, which means you could start putting pips into this in round 2 and 3. I think that if you play this dice, this can now be played with a shield invincible or an explosive deck, and yeah, this is a really good thing. I think that now we can see a lot more Azure Dragons for sure. Do we want to see more? I don't know. It's still only got a 3 attack range. It's basically like a better Holy Arrow, so we'll see. It might get put in for Holy Arrow now. Egg form. This is almost, I don't know. I don't know how you'd use this. Like, if you place this dice, so maybe this dice combined with soul dice, because right now, if this dies and then you get soul dice buffed and then you rebirth this dice and then you can get that buff again, then obviously soul dice will get huge. But then again, soul dice are still gonna need that time to be alive, and if you have something like Good Evil and Sniper who just outrange you and basically make sure that you're never gonna, you know, see anything. Like if I play Sniper Melec, I don't know how this will find a way to manage, but you know, we'll see. I might come up with a deck. I will probably do a deck building video tonight or tomorrow, because I do want to test out a few new decks. And I want to spruce up the meta, and every time I release a deck video, or every time I basically talk about a deck, I feel like, or I use a deck, everybody just uses it like 5 hours later. It's like the whole top ladder just plays whatever you play. So like at the start I made a Good Evil center deck, and now then people use that, and then I went to Sniper Melec, I talked about that, and then I found out a way where you can kind of position the Sniper where it's not in the corner, but it's so much more useful, but still fairly safe. And then now everybody uses this deck, so I feel like whenever I play a deck, it like gets adapted pretty fast. So I'm curious to see if I can find more different decks that also work, to where I can, like, you know, spruce up the meta. And I will go and build a deck just to counter these decks so that I at least have some value from these decks. Now, Melec, I'm happy to see Melec being nerfed. I use it because you have to use what's broken, right? Otherwise, you're not going to be top leaderboards. Like, it's just wishful thinking to play something that is, like, not good and do well. It's not going to happen. So, yeah, this is a very welcoming nerf. I think we'll still see Melec just because you have to play Melec, because otherwise people will just combine the whole board, which, depending on what you're playing, it might be okay. So if you're playing like an explosive deck, you can connect the whole board, you know? We'll see. Then that might even be worse to use Melec, but we'll see. Now, basic health of this is great. I love this nerf, and this is also good. That's basically it. Those are the patch notes and my thoughts on them. I will make a deck now. I will make a deck with Vermilion Bird. I will make a deck with all these 3 dice. I really want to use these dice in decks. I want people to try these. I will be leveling. I will be taking this time now off my main account to level up my secondary account to where I can test things out. So, obviously that account doesn't really have a lot of dice, so I still need to grind a bit, and that's going to be annoying. But at the end of the day, testing stuff out on my main account always costs me a lot of rank, and it is annoying. So, that is all. I hope you have a wonderful day, and peace. See you again.